Yeah, Philip, I'm glad to be back. Thanks for being here, by the way. We're still in the middle of doing the last final thing, so my air conditioning people are here right now, but actually I'm gonna have to take a pause and go deal with that for just a second. Hey, Lord Henry, welcome. Thanks everybody for being here. You're gonna see me pop in and out here periodically before we start here, and maybe we'll see if we have an interruption while we're going. The technicians are here to hook up my air conditioning system now that the patio's done, and we're doing checks and that sort of stuff on it right now, so should be the last thing that we have to do, though. I'll be glad when it's done. But thank you everybody for being here. I certainly appreciate it. I really missed out on last week. That was a bummer for me, so glad things are getting finished up and worked out though. Yeah, probably true. I mean, honestly, Philip, the flood happened March 3rd of 2023. They finished up the final bit of construction on the cabinet replacements a week and a half ago. So it took, 10 months to get all of that construction work done, and then while that final thing was being done, I had the patio redone because I can't be without air conditioning where I live during the summer, so I have to do it during the winter so I can pull the condensing unit and still have heating. So had to do it during the winter, and this was just a time to do it. So it turned out really, really nice though. So today they're installing the condensing unit, and then tomorrow I will put the new gazebo up and move the firewood rack back outside, and should be good. Got the rain barrels all installed, so yeah, after this weekend I can actually relax in a full home again. So, but I'm a homeowner, so with a house you're never really done with anything. I'm sure there'll be something else that pops up. That's exactly right, Philip. That's exactly what it is. I really wanted to get a heat pump when we moved down here because the winters are normally so mild. But the problem with that is that when I needed to do this work here, I can't pull a heat pump and have the auxiliary heat still work on the unit. So it was good that I have a condensing, cooling only condensing unit outside, even though it's not originally what I wanted for the design of this place. But it worked out in this one very select instance, because right after they pulled the unit, we got another freeze down here. So it was good that I had it. I was able to use the heater on the air handler and heat the place up, and then obviously had my fireplace going. So yeah, that's exactly it, Philip. You're never really done. I will start looking at the other things. I'm going to start doing work on the upstairs primary bathroom. I'm going to start a major envelope upgrade where I redo all the insulation, add radiant barrier in the attic, put new blown-in insulation up there, redo all the windows. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up over the next few years, but hopefully y'all are here throughout the entire time to see it. Welcome everyone to today's live stream. This is episode 28 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Bard gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval, and I want to thank you all for coming along on our journey today. So on some admin notes, first of all, as always, I want to say thank you to all of you that are here today. It's been a trying couple of weeks here at the house, and ran into some unexpected things, obviously, that I updated everyone about, and that caused me to miss last week's live stream, and I really don't like doing that. There's obviously times when I'm not going to be here. If I'm taking vacation or something like that, I'll certainly give you guys, more notice, but I really don't like it when unexpected things happen and cause me to miss out. I really enjoy playing these games, and I really enjoy spending the time with y'all. So thank you all for being here this week. I really do appreciate it. And like I say, not to sound too sappy, but again, I appreciate all of you, so thank you very much. So on that same note, the last little bit of contractor work is being done on my house right now. The technicians are here reinstalling the outside condensing unit to my house. I think they're just about done, but there might be a slight interruption where I'll put up a "Be Right Back" sign while I deal with them if there are any other questions or anything like that that need to be dealt with. And then they'll load their tools through here and be done. And yeah, that's part of it, is because the only way through is through my unit, and that means that they have to walk kind of right through where I'm streaming. So there may be an interruption here as we go. We'll kind of take it by ear and see how it goes, but it shouldn't be too intrusive. So on the next admin note, the big thing that's happened since my last live stream is the fact that Hotfix 17 went live. Now that was January 15th or 16th, I believe. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff in it. The main thing was a kind of stopgap fix for Gale. Gale's absorbing of magic items thing has always been a little iffy, and that it has some pretty severe consequences for Gale. If you don't give him an item, he can leave your party entirely. So if you don't have the option to give him a magical item when he wants one, you could end up losing him for your playthrough. So it was always a little weird, and in Hotfix 16 they implemented the whole deal where some items like that, quest items and things like that, are now available even if they're sitting on another party member or in your camp chest. To try and fix that. That didn't work out how well they wanted, because the UI didn't update those items in the list when you were talking to Gale. So it was something where you could access those items remotely, so to speak, but you couldn't actually give them to Gale because they wouldn't show up in the list. So this is kind of the main reason for this is a fix for that. So hopefully that's all taken care of. There are some other things. There are some performance issues, specifically dealing with save games. They've worked on the compression of the save games to make them smaller and avoid some of those issues with your save games running out of space when you're backing up online through different platforms and things like that. So hopefully a lot of those things have been taken care of and worked out. But stay on the lookout. Larian has said that they're going to keep putting out regular hotfixes and patches as we go here, so expect a lot more from them as we continue to go through this. So I think that's it on our admin notes. So on to a recap, and we need a recap because it's been a while. Even I needed to go back and get a recap. At the end of last week, or not last week's, 2 weeks ago's episode, we had been exploring the eastern side of the River Chionthar, and that's what we're going to continue doing today. Remember, we came in through the mountain pass entrance, so we explored some of the southern half of this side of the river. At the end of last episode, we went up and saw the entrance from the Underdark, and that's at the very north end of this side of the river. So we're going to start working our way and clearing out all of the stuff in between today. But before we do that, we're going to get into a respec. So we'll go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to take a quick break. Okay, I'm back. So here we are. We can take a look at our map. And this was the entrance here from the Underdark that we went up and explored. So we have a lot of middle ground in here to explore. There's a lot to do in here. There really is. So we'll spend some time going through all of this, and we do have some more areas down here in this south of the path to the Kresh that we can explore as well. But for now, we're going to take a second and head to our camp and do a respec, because I told you that we're going to be starting out the new year with some respecs here. And this week, we're going to make that Shadowheart.
This way.
Now, Shadowheart, we have been putting together based around a Radiant build here. And we'll take a quick recap of where we are. So, the Holy Lance Helm gives a condition, basically, or it inflicts radiant damage on a creature that misses, and because of our luminous armor, that then deals a radiant shockwave, which puts illuminating orb, or radiating orb on all targets within that 3-meter radius. And that radiating orb is a condition that obviously affects the entities around. It gives them -1 to attack rolls, and all of that sort of stuff. So we have Hellrider's Pride, which is basically a buffing healing set of gloves. It gives Blade Ward to whoever that we heal. The Vital Conduit Boots gives us a bonus of temporary hit points whenever we're concentrating on a spell. The rest of the stuff that we have over here, Coruscation Ring and Whispering Promise. Whispering Promise basically casts Bless on a target whenever we heal them. And the Coruscation Ring is whenever we deal spell damage while we have a light source, which is the Blood of Lathander, we also inflict Radiating Orb. So we're around the Radiating Orb build right now. And we are pure cleric at this time. What we're going to do is make a fundamental change in how Shadowheart deals damage. And right now, she's really spell-based. Fundamentally spell-based. With her strength being what it is, she simply is not able to deal reliable melee damage across a bunch of different enemies. She just isn't able to do that. We're going to bring Shadowheart in to be able to do both, basically. And that's going to be kind of an experiment for us, because the melee portions of this build really don't kick in until you're quite a bit farther down the road as far as the build goes, or as far as your leveling goes. So for right now, we're going to focus more on getting her initiative through dexterity. And even though she doesn't need that dexterity because of her armor choices that we might use as we go through this, it's going to up her initiative. Later on, once we get to a level where we can work on the melee portions of her build, we will change that dexterity to strength, and we will just deal with the fact that we don't have high initiative. So for now, let's go ahead and get into the respec, and we'll kind of walk through this.
Another. Thy name has been recorded. I shall be here in thy camp for whenever thou hast need of my services.
Welcome, Mustamura. Thanks for being here.
As thou desire.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to start with is our ability scores. And to do that, like I say, this is going to do another respec because this is partially in experimenting purposes here. Our +2 is obviously going into wisdom. Our +1 for now is going to go into dexterity. And we're just going to pop everything up here to this. You're fine. So intelligence is going to be our dump stat. Hold on just a second. Okay. Sorry, they're almost done, everybody. I apologize. Intelligence is going to be our dump stat here for this build. Now, the final version of the build is going to look something like this. Okay, this is the final version of what the ability scores are going to be. If I was building this out and did not have an opportunity for respec, this is the way that I would lay out my ability scores from the start. We would just deal with the fact that our initiative rolls are going to be fairly low, but as the cleric, we're not really interested in being that I have to throw out all of my damage right at the start type of cleric. The melee versions won't come in until later on, and keeping that in mind, we are going to make some adjustments here to up our dexterity. And like I say, that dexterity is just for the initiative. Our armor is going to be heavy armor, so we're not going to have a bonus from dexterity for the most part. So it's just for initiative, but later on, because of that heavy armor, we're going to drop our dex since we won't need it, and we'll focus on strength. But for now, this is what we're going to do. We want a higher constitution to be able to give us a bonus to maintaining our concentration, because concentration is going to be important with this build. And obviously wisdom for our main spell casting stat. So for our proficiencies here, we don't need persuasion. The only other two that we have access to are history and medicine, so they're defaulted to what they are. Now for our subclass, this is where the big change comes in. Trickery is... trying to think of a diplomatic way to say this. Trickery is probably the least useful standard cleric type of domain that you're going to have. If you're using trickery domain, you're really utilizing this as a splash of cleric into something else to be able to get certain spells and things like that that come along with the trickery domain. You're not utilizing it as your main domain. A couple of the really popular ones, War Domain, Tempest Domain, Light Domain, and Life Domain. Out of those, Life Domain and War Domain are in tabletop one of the most popular, followed very closely by Tempest Domain. Light Domain is not that popular in tabletop, however, it is probably the single most effective one right now in this game, and that's because Light Domain is broken. It is broken beyond all belief with the Warding Flare reaction. And basically, Warding Flare allows you to use your reaction to give the attacker who would have hit you disadvantage on that roll, possibly then allowing them to not hit you. Once you level up the Light Domain, you get an improved Warding Flare where you can now apply that Warding Flare to your companions. And that is where things get really broken, because you could have all of your companions surrounded by a bunch of different enemies. They all get their attacks on different companions, and improved Warding Flare triggers every single attack, and they just, because of disadvantage being so strong, they just can't hit you. It's obviously not meant to be that way. It can't be meant to be that way. Everyone's just waiting for Larian to remove it, because it's way overpowered. It's just broken. So in the game, this is one of the most popular because of improved Warding Flare. For me, I'm going to go with Tempest Domain, and now this is going to shift Shadowheart into a lightning and thunder based damage dealing cleric. She's still going to have radiant abilities for some of it here, but she's really going to be now focused on thunder and lightning damage. And the way this comes in is through a few things. One, her Tempest Domain spells are going to be focused on that. So Thunder Wave, Call Lightning, that sort of stuff are what's going to be showing up here in her spell list. Her subclass features are where she really starts to shine. So Wrath of the Storm is a reaction that whenever you're attacked, you can utilize your reaction to deal 2d8 lightning or thunder damage. They get a saving throw against that to take half damage, but this is a reaction where, again, you might not be utilizing your reaction for a whole lot. As a cleric, this gives you a way to deal damage utilizing that reaction on your turn. So as far as the cantrips go, it doesn't really matter up front. We're going to be expanding these. Sacred Flame is, again, a way for us to deal radiant damage at a distance. So if we're out of spell slots, it gives us an opportunity to do stuff like that. Her being a high half-elf is also going to allow us with Firebolt to be able to do that same thing remotely. So whether you take Blade Ward here, or whether you take Sacred Flame, or whether you get Thaumaturgy, which is what we are going to do to gain advantage on intimidation and performance checks, is just going to allow us. This is especially important in honor mode, where you can really talk your way out of a lot of things to avoid fights that may end up wiping your party. Gaining advantage on those checks can just make it so you're never going to fail them, which is incredibly important. So it doesn't really matter what we do here as far as the cantrips go, but resistance and guidance you obviously want to start with. And now we're going to start our level up process. Okay, so here at level 2, we obviously get Turn Undead. Our subclass feature here is Destructive Wrath. And this allows us, whenever we deal thunder or lightning damage, we can use one of our channel divinity charges that we get to deal max damage with that. And this is why 2 levels of Cleric and 10 levels of Storm Sorcerer is so popular in the game right now. Not to say it's not popular in tabletop, but in the game, it is the largest Nova damage single target dealing option that we have. So combining Destructive Wrath with the Sorcerer's meta magic and being able to deal lightning spells with Lightning Bolt, which the Cleric doesn't have access to by default, can be very, very destructive. So here we're not dealing with a Cleric splash Sorcerer build. This is a Cleric build, not a Sorcerer splashed with Cleric build. So you're not going to see that. So as far as my prepared spells go, again, doesn't really matter as much. I normally get rid of Protection from Good and Evil and have Sanctuary. We're going to get rid of Bless and add in Guiding Bolt. Now, our options here, and Healing Word is obviously where we want to be. Create or Destroy Water is important for us to have on. And you're going to see how that synergizes with lightning damage as we go. Inflict Wounds is great for melee. It does require a combat and attack roll to make it work. But it is, really high damage for that. We're going to have another melee-based spell that we're going to utilize instead of that. So in place of that, we can choose Bless. And you'll kind of see how this works as we go through things. Bless is going to quickly be dropped out because it won't be the main thing that we're concentrating on once we get to a certain point, but you'll kind of see how it works. So at Cleric level 3, we get access to level 2 spells, and we get our always prepared domain spells. And this is Shatter, which again we're familiar with, AoE thunder damage, which is really nice, and Gust of Wind. Gust of Wind is like your pushing attack, your Eldritch, your repelling blast, your things like that for the Cleric. So taking advantage of the verticality in this game, being able to knock creatures back from you and push them off balance, which is something that not other many people think about, but they have disadvantage on their strength and dexterity check, and attack rolls against it have advantage. So that's important to realize. That can help your other characters land their attacks better. However, Gust of Wind also clears all clouds. That's important to remember if you're trying to utilize it in an area where you may have already laid down darkness or something like that. It will clear that away, and you might not want that to happen. So, in our prepared spells list here for level 2, we're going to drop out, and we're always going to take Spiritual Weapon. Spiritual Weapon becomes a lot more useful later on as you go, simply as a distraction. It's one of its main goals in the game is to be that distraction and to soak up attacks from other enemies while you're dealing with something else. At level 4, we're going to get our first feat, and we're going to gain another cantrip. And again, for cantrip here, doesn't really matter where you're going. I'm going to go with Blade Ward. I would probably, if I was in honor mode, go with, I'd already had Thaumaturgy here, so I would take Sacred Flame instead. For our prepared spells, we're going to gain another one, and I'm going to go with Hold Person here. Now, there's some controversy with a lot of this as to whether you're going to go Prayer of Healing or Aid or something like that instead of Hold Person. You have opportunities to get versions of these that are actually better through items. So I'm going to prepare Hold Person here, and then we're going to look at our feet. So there's really, well, I can't really say that. I don't want to upset people. there are relatively few feats that really make a whole lot of sense for this cleric build. One of them is Warcaster. You're going to gain advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on a spell. You can also get a slightly different version of that if you choose to go with Resilient and use Resilient up your Constitution. Then you're going to gain proficiency in the saving throws. You're not going to gain advantage in those saving throws, but you're also going to be able to get an ability point increase out of it. The thing that makes Warcaster a little bit more applicable to this build is the fact that you get Shocking Grasp as an opportunity attack reaction. And because we're going to be working with lightning damage and thunder damage, this gives you another opportunity to use that lightning damage on a target. And Shocking Grasp is 1d8 lightning damage, and the spell has advantage on creatures that are wearing metal armor. So even if you don't have a high to hit roll, you're going to have advantage on that attack when you use it. So Warcaster is a very popular way to go here. The other one is obviously ability improvement. Now we're at level 7, so we don't have access to 2 feats yet. We're going to quickly gain our second feat at level 8. So gaining the additional +2 to wisdom is very useful. However, since I know we're quickly going to get it, I'm going to go with Warcaster to be able to unlock the Shocking Grasp reaction. Because again, that gives us another use for our reaction, which for a lot of clerics might not necessarily be used. So, depending upon what we're doing, another way to cause damage with our reaction can be very, very good. So, we'll jump up to level 5. And now a couple of important things happened here. First, we have Destroy Undead. So when you successfully turn an undead creature, it also takes 4d6 radiant damage. That's important because of a synergy we're going to get with an item that whenever we deal radiant damage, it also inflicts another condition. And like I say, that's going to become fairly important later on when we're dealing with how we're going to change this build from Radiant to something else. So we gain access to level 3 spells here, and Spirit Guardians is obviously your go-to here. It's just so powerful, it's not even funny. Our 2 domain spells, however, are incredibly important. Level 5 is a major bump up in combat utility for the Tempest Cleric. Call Lightning is a great spell. 3d10 is a bunch of damage here at this time. You can cast it from range, from 18 meters away, and it affects a small AoE which you can use to hit multiple targets at the same time. The great thing about it is it's a concentration spell. So as long as you hold your concentration, you can cast Call Lightning again on your next turn without using a spell slot. So that is just like recasting Hex or Hunter's Mark or something like that. It'll pop up over at the side, and as long as you maintain that concentration, you are constantly dealing 3d10 lightning damage every turn with it. So, incredibly useful. Sleet Storm is useful in 2 different ways. Well, 3 different ways. One, it disrupts the concentration of spellcasters. That is a huge benefit. especially when you're dealing with a large group of spellcasters. This can help disrupt a lot of them at the same time, and while it does that, it puts out an ice surface, which makes movement difficult. Enemies can possibly fall prone and end their turn, so a lot of benefits to that. The second thing that goes along with it is that that ice surface is not permanent. You can melt that ice surface, and that ice surface will turn into a water surface, and anything that's standing in it becomes wet. When that target is wet, they are vulnerable to lightning damage, and that means they're going to take double damage from it. So you can cast Sleet Storm out to disrupt spellcasters, create an ice surface, make people fall down. You can melt that ice surface with a fire cantrip or something like that, turn it into water, and then your next turn, all of those targets are wet, and when you cast Call Lightning, everyone's taking 6 to 60 damage instead. So it really turns into a synergy process where you're laying down an AoE denial spell while at the same time prepping all the enemies that are in it for some serious upgraded damage. So our prepared spells, again, Spirit Guardians, no ifs, ands, or buts. That's just what you're going to take. So level 6 is where things really turn interesting for your AoE management of enemies. You can see in a bunch of videos from online content creators how powerful Thunderwave is at low levels, being able to knock a group of enemies off of high places and that sort of stuff. Thunderbolt Strike is a passive feature that whenever we deal lightning or thunder damage to a creature that's large or smaller, which is most of them. We do run into some huge and gargantuan creatures, but large or smaller is the vast majority of creatures you're going to encounter. You can also push it up to 3 meters. This is like an AoE version, or like having Thunder Wave at range. You can drop a Call Lightning on a group of enemies, and when they take lightning damage, it can also shove them all away. So like Thunder Wave is melee based, out in a cone in front of you, or an area in front of you. This is like being able to cast Thunder Wave at range, cause lightning damage, and knock them back while still doing it. There are a lot of ways to utilize this. Being able to take advantage of that verticality in the game is, again, very, very important. So now looking at our second level 3 spell that's available to us, there are a lot of options here. For the most part, with where I'm at, I like to have Remove Curse available for right now. That becomes situationally more useful in Act 3, but for the most part less useful in Act 3. But in Act 2 here, it can be extraordinarily useful. So I always tend to have it available to me now. Our last level is still going to be Pure Cleric at level 7. And here we get to amazing things. So Ice Storm is a large AoE. It's a 6-meter radius AoE version that also creates an ice surface on the ground and does bludgeoning damage as well as cold damage. Now, your ice surface lasts for 2 turns, and then it disappears. But while that ice surface is there, again, you can melt that surface. So just like Sleet Storm, instead of needing to cast Create or Destroy Water, you can use a spell that does damage in that AoE, and then use another character to melt that surface. For instance, having somebody cast Fireball on that same area, and turn it into water so that then the next follow-up turn from the cleric, they can call lightning or something else and cause a huge amount of damage. So these spells all synergize with each other very, very well. And that's what makes the Tempest Cleric a great AoE damage dealer in the game. They're not necessarily the Nova damage dealer. They're not the single target nuke you dealer. But they do a lot of AoE damage to multiple targets with how well their spells synergize with each other. The second thing is freedom of movement. And this is probably one of the most powerful spells in the game. Freedom of movement snaps you out of any stun. And by stun, that means any condition where you are immobilized. And this applies to, and I haven't tested this myself, I'm making an assumption here because of tabletop, but it applies to anything that paralyzes you. So if you are hit with hold person, if you are hit with an entangle spell, if you are hit with, like Astarion was in the Paladin playthrough, and he was restrained by one of the needles, the needle monsters, this would snap you out of that. And this is a way to bring that target immediately back into the fight. And having this always prepared and doesn't count against your prepared spell list, that's why this is here marked out as red, is because this spell's always prepared and does not count against our prepared spell list. So there's no reason to prepare freedom of movement because it's always prepared here. So that's a good question, Lord Henry. I don't think it removes... Well, that's a good question. We'll have to test it, because technically fear doesn't allow you to move, but I'm not sure if that qualifies as a stun, because when you're feared, you can still take actions, bonus actions, and not reactions, but you can still take actions and bonus actions. So you can't move, but you can still take those actions. So I'm not entirely sure how well it works, because that's the same thing with restrained. You can still take actions and bonus actions. So that'll be interesting to test and see if it removes fear. I'm sure we're going to have the opportunity to do it here, but we'll take a look at it and get that question answered. So here for our prepare spells, I prefer banishment. Being able to single target a big enemy and remove them from the fight for 2 turns is very, very useful. However, from an AoE perspective, Guardian of Faith is probably better. Now, we're going to be getting access to another level 4 spell here fairly quickly. But because, and I don't think we're going to need it before we get onto the west side of the river, I want to have banishment before I go to the west side of the river and start exploring Wraithwind. But for now, I'm going to go with Guardian of Faith. And that's going to end her level up. Now we need to start looking at how we're going to outfit her. And let's take a look at our proficiency. So because of Tempest Domain, we have access to all of the armors and shields. We also have access to all of the weapons, both simple and martial. So that allows us to use anything in the game that we find. And there are a lot of different ways to outfit Shadowheart. Here, I'm going to be working on a specific type of build, and for that I need to go through here and see what items we have that are in storage. And for that, I want to start looking. So we have the helm we need. I'm looking at the boots now and see what we have. Okay, so we don't have the boots that we need, but I think that's just because we didn't buy them, but we still can. So for our gloves, okay, there's the gloves of Belligerent Skies, which I definitely want to pull out. Okay, and I don't think there's any more of those that we're going to want, so I think that's it. Do we have, where are our armors here? Because I think for now, we're still good with what we have. But we may be able to take advantage because we have high dexterity right now up to this point. So I'd be losing Radiating Shockwave, which is going to be causing that condition, which is going to be inflicting it upon multiple targets. So I would lose that ability for now. Well, let me pull both of these out and we'll look at them together and see which one we want to do. So I don't think that I want to use any of these others that I have in here. I do not. Okay. So let's take a look at what we have here. So the Whispering Promise. Okay, so I don't think Shadowheart has the Absolutes brand. Okay, so there's the Ring of Elemental Infusion. We're going to swap that out. And really might have wanted to get the brand just to take advantage of the additional +1 damage there, but not a big deal. So let's go get some gloves. So the first thing that we're going to, or the gloves, we're going to swap out our gloves for the gloves of Belligerent Skies. We talked about Hellrider's Pride. These are mainly a give Blade Ward to whoever we heal type thing, which, don't get me wrong, is very useful. The gloves of Belligerent Skies, whenever we deal thunder, lightning, or radiant damage, we're going to inflict 2 turns of reverberation on the target. Now, reverberation is similar in that it gives the enemies negatives to their ability saving throws. So their strength, dexterity, and constitution saving throws is a -1 penalty per turn remaining on the reverberation. So if we inflict thunder, lightning, or radiant damage, they're going to start with a -2 to all of those saving throws. So now your dexterity saving throw to avoid slipping prone on ice or something like that is a lot harder for them to pass. So also now, when you stack reverberation, if they get 5 or more turns of it, they take 1d4 thunder damage and possibly fall prone. Now, when they fall prone, as we've seen before, you can't take any actions, bonus actions, or reactions. They have disadvantage on those strength and dexterity saving throws that they already have minus penalty to, but that reverberation is going to disappear once they fall prone. So now they've had minuses to all of those saving throws, and now they're going to have more of, or now that's replaced with disadvantage on strength and dexterity saving throws. and any attacks against that prone creature that are made from melee range have advantage. When they get up, they have to use half their movement speed to do it. So again, this is an AoE crowd control type of spell that also has a small damage component that goes along with it. But remember, it's thunder damage. And when we deal thunder damage to targets, we have all of the synergies that go along with all of our Tempest domain skills. So the Holy Lance Helm, whenever a creature misses us with an attack roll, they're going to take radiant damage. Because of that radiant damage, they're going to get a radiant shockwave. And that radiant shockwave, again, is going to inflict radiating orb. So whenever we're putting that condition, or whenever we're inflicting radiant damage on a target, whenever they miss us, they're going to get reverberation on them as well. So the Holy Lance Helm and the Gloves of Belligerent Skies stack reverberation on top of each other. The one caveat to that is that ranged attacks seem to be a little buggy with that. Sometimes they don't stack with the Gloves of Belligerent Skies. So this attack roll here on the Holy Lance Helm seems to be maybe only a melee attack as opposed to a ranged attack, but we'll look at it and see what happens as people make ranged attacks against us and see if it's working. But against a melee attack that misses and they take radiant damage from the response, then this is definitely going to stack reverberation. Okay, so let's take a look at our armors here. So our armor class is 19 right now. If we drop on the 1T, that's going to go up to 20 because of our dex bonus, because we have a +3 dex, but we're going to miss out on Radiant Shockwave. And then the Flawed Helldusk would just keep that armor class increase, and we would just be utilizing our dexterity for initiative rolls at that point. So either one of these tend to work. We would also be dealing 1d4 fire damage as a response to this. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to go with this, and I'm going to keep the luminous armor in on me right now, just to kind of see how this plays out. I may want to, bring the radiating orb back in. But now, while we're here, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to see if we can pick up one more item here. And again, I think this is just because I didn't buy it. I don't think I sold it or I missed it somewhere. I think it's just because I didn't buy it. And we want to add this in because this might be the reason why I changed back to the radiant or the luminous armor.
Never wanted the easy path.
Perhaps Amelia is right.
I want to have a word.
I greet you, son-child.
Okay, yep, there they are. Okay, like I say, I didn't think it was because I had sold them or anything. I think it was just because of, I didn't buy them.
May your travels be safe and swift.
Okay, so now we're going to head back to the Last Light Inn, and we will look at these boots. Okay, so in Shadowheart here, the Boots of Stormy Clamor. Right now, we have the Vital Conduit boots, which is gaining us temporary hit points. The Boots of Stormy Clamor give Arcane Echo Malefaction. So, when the wearer inflicts a condition upon a hostile creature, they also inflict 2 turns of reverberation. Now, that condition is a lot of things. So, wet is a condition. So if you've got them on, or if you cast Create Destroy Water on somebody, and they have the wet condition, they're also going to have 2 turns of reverberation put on them. That is going to stack on top of all the other ways that you can apply reverberation. Okay? Now, one of the things that I do want to test out here, and this is why I'm going to keep the Helldusk on me, I'm going to test out Radiating Orb. If a target misses me, and they fail their dexterity saving throw, they're going to take radiant damage. When they take radiant damage, they are going to get 2 turns of reverberation from the Gloves of Belligerent Skies, and they are also going to trigger a Radiant Shockwave, which is going to inflict Radiating Orb, which is a condition on every enemy within 3 meters, and because I've inflicted a condition, they should also inflict 2 turns of reverberation on everybody within that 3-meter radius. So, I think that I want to test this out first to see how well this synergy works. Because if this is every time somebody misses an attack on me and they fail their dex throw, it recasts Radiant Shockwave and puts a condition on everybody because of Radiant Orb stacking. Does that automatically stack reverberation? I could quickly get to the point where every one of the enemies around me is stacking up more than 5 turns of reverberation, and they take thunder damage and fall prone, and everybody then is able to hit them, have advantage on the attacks against them. So this is what I want to test out here, is how well this reverberation build kind of stacks up. Now, when that also works, whenever I deal lightning or thunder damage, my weapon is going to be infused with that as well. That's what the Ring of Elemental Infusion does. So then I'm going to be able to deal 1d4 additional damage with whatever weapon I'm using. And this can be quite important later on in the game once my melee has kicked in on this build. So, but this is, and I'm hoping that's the case at Lord Henry. Oh, and David, thanks for being here as well. So yeah, I'm almost positive that this synergy is going to stack a stupid amount of Radiating Orb and Reverberation on targets. We've already seen how Radiating Orb stacked up to 10 Radiating Orbs on target. And that means that, again, when you remember what Radiating Orb does, they all have -1 to attack rolls. So, while they're doing it. And then all of those minuses to attack rolls stacked on top of the fact that they all have minus penalties to their saving throws means that really I should be able to start immobilizing enemies and just beating them down when they're around me. And again, since we're fighting inside of darkness, I should have characters miss me quite a bit with my high armor class if they're trying to attack me. So it's almost to the point now where I want Shadowheart up front in that darkness cloud, soaking up all of the damage so that she can be debuffing those enemies so that my Bard and my Paladin can, really lay the hurt on them as we go. So we'll kind of test this out, play it by ear, and kind of see how it goes. I'm going to keep the Flawed Helldusk on me for right now, but I'm pretty sure this is going to work. If it does, then I'll remove that. So Oh, we're carrying a bunch of stuff that we need to sell off. That's why. Why do I have 3 backpacks? Why do I have backpacks inside of backpacks? Where did this come from, chat? That's Halson's? Okay. I wonder why I have it. Anyway, I'll go take a look. Adrian, welcome to the stream. My bard is College of Sorts. Okay, so let's head back up where we were here. We're going to make our way up here and start exploring this northern half of the east side of the River Chionthar. I'm not entirely sure where it came from. I don't remember it, but
Should mind my step.
we'll, I'm sure we'll find out. So let me take stock of our action economy where we are here.
Can't give up.
We're still great.
Let's move. Best be on my way.
Okay. Now, we're familiar with this encounter here.
Alright. Time to skulk about. Don't waste a step.
Okay, so we're familiar with the fact that we have the needle blights up here in this area. They are ambushing us. They are hiding from us up here in this area. So we are familiar with it. So what we're going to do is make our way around this direction. And again, just like we've seen in a couple other areas, we're going to put this into, or make this a flanking maneuver type of thing here. So we'll pick up some stuff while we're here. We're going to probably become encumbered again, and we'll just have to shift that stuff off.
Come on, open up.
So only a +4 bonus here because we don't have any of our thief gear on. Yeah, Adrian, we kind of talked about the life domain build when we were selecting our domain at the start. Shadowheart, the life build, or the life domain build is like I kind of said, it's much more popular in tabletop than it is here in the game, simply because you don't have access to full Tashes and full Xanathars. What they've done with the, like you say, the Hellbot build here is trying to take advantage of some of that inside the mechanics that are inside of this game. I think it's good. I think it's just kind of handicapped by the fact that we don't have the full expanded rule sets in here. and that's why it's not nearly as popular in the game here as it probably is in tabletop. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of builds here, and I'm not really focusing while I'm while I'm moving around here, and that's probably a bad thing. But there are a lot of builds that are really impressive for Shadowheart that people have come up with in the game. Okay, so we are going to initiate an attack here on one of these Shadow Blights. And we're just going to start the combat off.
Here we go again.
Okay. So that started my initiative. I rolled first. Oh, she actually got that shot off. Okay, so I'm going to move back here a little ways. Now that she did get that shot off. End my turn. And let them all dash toward me. Okay, so this one's frightened over here, so he's not able to do anything. So now at this point, going to start things off with our fairly standard way of evoking combat. So again, you need to examine who you're looking at here. So superior Darkvision is not Devil Sight. So the Needle Blights cannot see inside of darkness. However, also remember the thing about Needle Blights is that they have Needle Burst. So you don't necessarily want to be fighting right next to a Needle Blight anyway. So me casting Darkness here, it's probably going to be a little bit of a bad thing because I don't want to be fighting inside of that darkness anyway. Okay? So what we're going to do is we've drawn them all this way. All the detection cones except for this one are facing towards us here. So what I'm going to do is now start causing damage to the Needle Blights here in a way that we can cause a chain reaction with the damages. So we're going to move back a little bit more just to get out of range. Okay, and now I'm going to bring everybody else into this fight.
Quiet as a moonbeam.
Ready. Unseen.
No time to dally.
Okay, and let's look at our range here, and you can see the range that Call Lightning has. And you can see the AoE that Call of Lightning has. Destructive Wrath, we can again spend one of our Channel Divinity charges. These recharge on a short rest, And with a bard, remember, we have an additional short rest available to us. So we're definitely going to use Destructive Wrath here. Okay, so you kind of see what I'm getting at. Alright. And now, when you look at
Need to stay focused.
Shadowheart's turn, you can see that she has lightning infusion on her weapon, so she's able to deal 1d4 lightning damage. Call lightning is available, and she can call it in again. She has another channel divinity slot, so she can do max damage again with it. So, yeah, you start to see what this build really is and how it works. Okay, and now we're left with the Shadow Curse Vine Blight. So, now with the Vine Blight,
More time. Never wanted the easy path.
the Vine Blight does not have the Needle Burst attack here. They have superior Darkvision, but again, that does not save them from the Darkness spell. They can't be surprised. That doesn't really matter. Okay? So at this point, I can go with my normal attack route of casting Darkness on an area and let them come into it. And I'm actually going to play with this here.
No choice but to keep going.
On this turn, and I'm going to do that by Misty Stepping. Can I Misty Step somewhere? I can't because I don't have any movement. So this Vine Blight should have to dash to get down to me, I believe. He doesn't. No, he's going to use his Constrict attack. Okay. So Constrict is what we ran into last time, or in the Paladin playthrough with Astarion. So they're constricted for 4 turns. So constricted, again, is... I want to check this and verify what freedom of movement does and what it doesn't do.
Let's end this.
Because now I'm going to need to get up close up here. So while he's facing the other way, let's just take our Paladin up here.
Don't waste a step.
Get into this fight. We'll cast Darkness on top of him. And on top of the Vine Blight. But I want to do some testing here. While I'm doing it. I've got an easily manageable fight.
What now?
Okay, so with my Bard here, I'm going to cast Darkness.
Let's not get caught off guard.
Now with my Paladin, I have advantage on all of these attacks as I go forward. But let's...
Ready.
see what we can do here. So I need to keep an eye on my passive. So I don't necessarily want to knock him back. Now Call Lightning does affect your allies as well, so keep that in mind. when you're casting it. Let's test freedom of movement first. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see. I'm not. So we'll move up and cast Call Lightning again. And I don't want to knock him off into the void. Okay. So, yes, you can see 4 turns of reverberation that were applied there. So, I applied the radiating orb condition, and because of that, it applied 2 additional turns of reverberation. So, those are definitely stacking with each other.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Now, go in here with my paladin. Okay, now if I Divine Smite here, I'm going to probably kill him. I would prefer not to do that. Like I say, I'm trying to play around a little bit here with this encounter.
Still breathing, despite everything.
Battle favors the fearless.
Okay, and I'm just going to move Will up
No
here,
time
but
to
he's
waste.
not going to probably be getting used. And now with my paladin,
So much for peace.
where they are, we'll wait and see what happens with his opportunity attack here. Oh, he won't have one because he's frightened. Forgot about that. So he's not going to be able to move anyway. So I'm just going to end my turn here, even though I'm not, you know, fully versed up on my action economy. I am going to move back into the darkness, though.
These boots have seen everything.
Battle favors the fearless.
Talk to me.
Okay, again, not too worried about any of these other attacks that he's giving me here. So he's got 3 turns of reverberation left. If I hit him again, he's going to
What should I do?
going to die if I hit him with Call Lightning again. Sacred Flame, so he's out of sight. Oh yeah, because he's in the darkness. That's right. That's why. Okay. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and end this then. Okay, well I expected it to end it, but I didn't use Destructive Wrath. That was why. So while he's prone,
Nothing will stand in my way.
I have advantage on my attacks there because he's prone. So I've got a 95% chance to hit here, and that should end that. Okay, so you can kind of see how the gameplay works out. Normally this was a pincer movement from 2 different directions. Normally I would cast this
So, about to
in a
progress.
choke point, and then I would move Shadowheart in and out of the darkness to be able to cast Call Lightning, because she does not have Devil Sight, so I don't have an opportunity for her to see anybody inside the darkness spell, but I can move her slightly out of it, recast a spell, Call Lightning, and then move her back into it to absorb misses and inflict Radiating Orb and inflict more damage that way. So that's going to be kind of the utilization of her in the gameplay loop as we go. So again, I will just heal myself back up here. I wasn't really too concerned about damage. I was really interested more in how things were going to synergize with each other, and it looks like they're going to do fairly well. So I will move that stuff I picked up off of her, and now I'll get Shadowheart to come up here and do some looting. So,
No time for Danny.
but now you kind of see how it's all going to work out. So, should be a really interesting synergy that we're looking at here with this build. And remember, that was not me utilizing my second channel divinity charge either. That was me saving that one just for testing purposes. So,
Is that blood? No, never mind. Light on my feet. Let's get going. That's curious.
okay, so that should be most of the searching done there.
Can't give up now.
So we'll group everybody back up. We can head up top here. Yeah. We'll wait for everybody to join us up here.
Whatever comes, I'm ready.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Scouting, seeking, gaps in cultist defenses. Caravan to Moonroy's towers. Know how to keep the shadows at bay. Last light in sanctuary from darkness, stronghold. The forest, no escape. The darkness turns all, twists all. Dull light spar, scout.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Okay, so when you come in from the north side here, you're going to be possibly exploring this area before you've crossed the bridge to the Last Light Inn, and you haven't had the encounter with the caravan down here at that point. So this is going to give you some clues about the Shadow Curse and how to stay protected from it. Okay, there's a journal here, which you can read, that basically talks about some of the other areas that are over here. They heard a child's laughter and saw Githyanki warriors approaching a house, and we're going to learn more about that as we go through this.
Still breathing, despite everything.
And now you can
Find a way
approach down the
forward.
backside of this location here. You didn't have to climb up and possibly take damage from the Shadow Curse vines. Yeah, and just going around the back and opening up the map. Now you see we have an encounter up here to deal with He Who Was. And move too far.
Where lies your guilt?
The waning moon.
And I have met few who stand so tall and fearless in the face of the unknown. Be on your way, brave soul. A fair point. Perhaps this one could assist us. The murdered lie silent. The raven asks, will you be their voice? She is not the victim. Nay, she is the perpetrator. This woman tended a bar where she took her patrons, her friends, into her confidence, promised their secrets were safe with her. Yet she turned their words into knives and stabbed them in the back. They died because of her, and to this day her victims lie unavenged. Death is not the end, merely another beginning. I seek a record of this one's crimes, written in her own hand. Through it, I can summon her spirit and force her to face trial for her crimes. Such spells are ancient secrets and closely guarded. But I could be convinced to share them with an ally. Your soul sparks with justice, with fortitude. This is your chance to bring a murderer to justice, to avenge her victims. Will you take it? I thank you, as do those who died by her words. Go to the distillery, the one she calls the Waning Moon. Find the ledger and bring it to me.
Okay, so I was going to have other things on. I need to make sure that I swap these back to the Wondrous Gloves. And the Shifting Corpus Ring. Okay, so I also, yeah, okay, I still have it on. So up here you can cast Speak with the Dead on Madeline and learn more about the story here of what's
faith will guide me.
been happening here. And you know, I've actually not done this before. I've completed this, so I'll be anxious. She's marked as steel. If you go up and you try and take from her, this will turn hostile. I don't think casting Speak with the Dead on her right now will do that, but it might. We'll see.
Corpse does not stir. It will
Okay.
answer no more
So it wouldn't do it
questions.
again at this point. You'll be able to talk to Madeline after the quest is over and find out some more about this.
Shouldn't have wished to live in more interesting
But up to this
times.
point, we have some other things that we can pick up around here.
No time to dally. I should take that.
And yes, Adrian, I'm just picking these things up as a boost to
These things have stayed
vendor attitude, so I can give these things away. Okay, so we've got speak with animals. We're going to speak with the raven here.
Something's on my mind.
Everyone hates you. You're disgusting, ugly, loathsome. You should just shut up and die. Pathetic.
Okay. The raven is obviously a little bit cranky.
Still alive? How disappointing.
And they're only going to get worse. However, that's going to be a little more interesting later on.
This one is a murderer who walks free. She deserves to be punished. Or will you deny her victims peace? I seek a record of this one's crimes. A ledger.
Okay, so the
written
same
in her own
conversations.
hand. With it, the joy of bringing suffering to the unpunished. Her victims deserve closure, and the ledger is key. Go to the distillery, the one she calls the Waning Moon. Find it, and bring it to me. And together, we shall mete out justice long overdue.
Okay, so we did see that pop up as a journal entry. We have the Punish the Wicked quest here. So he wants us to find the ledger. The ledger's in the Waning Moon, which is here. Yes. Again, on the west side of the river. We're starting to open up more of the quests here on the west side of the river in the town of Wraithwind itself. But there's still quite a bit to do over here on this side. And as you can see, we popped up another one here. The House in Deep Shadows.
If not over, then through.
Okay, now here, an interesting little area here. You can Misty Step across this.
Night and Shadow have claimed this place. Turn back.
Okay, there's some skeletons up here. Talks about how this place was overtaken by the shadows and what this group of travelers was trying to do. You know, how to get out of here. Okay, a stuffed bear, a child's diary. And again, about the horrors of what happened in the town of Wraithwind. And also a little bit of clue about what happened with Ketheric and his family. And that sort of stuff here. So you're learning more and more about the backstory of all of this. Okay, and then that's the end of it. Nowhere else to go here. Looks like there might be, you know, something over here, but you can see on your map there's not. You can't Misty Step anywhere over onto that side. This is all part of a way that people are trying to escape from Wraithwind and just simply weren't able to. Now, because it's lower level, I have the strength to be able to jump from up there over to here. Unless you have a high strength character, you're not going to be able to make that jump over there. And again, none of mine are based on my builds. So I needed a Misty Step over there, but not everybody has to. Okay, so again, we're gonna be here.
A couple turns should do it.
Okay, total bonus of 16. We're gonna add in guidance here. Ooh. What do you know? Well, we got our 1 out of the way, so got it out of the way early. Hopefully that
Wish I had
that
a
bodes
bag of
well
holding.
for us.
What's next? I'll grab that.
Okay, we can read Bagba's diary here. Need to rest. Most ran. So the wheelbarrow broke. Couldn't get out. Just needed one more rest, and obviously succumbed to the shadow curse here at this location.
Onward then. Something over there.
Okay, another key here. And again, you can see how expansive this area is around here. There's a lot to explore. So we've explored most of the upper half up here of this area. There are still some more areas back here that we need to go take a look at, so that's what we're going to go do. Where are we? We're almost to level 8.
No one back home will ever believe this.
Okay, so we're definitely going to need our setup back
Very well.
as we get ready for this.
Never wanted the easy path.
Okay, so here we have a shadow-cursed undead.
The animal never had a chance. The curse consumes everything it touches.
Don't think there are any shadow sacks up here. There are not. Okay, and we all remember this area here. This is where we had the fight where we first met the Harpers. We just immediately took off and followed them to the Last Light Inn. You know, I don't know as if I've ever picked this up in my playthroughs here before. But it looks like he's got a ring. It was his ticket into Baldur's Gate, and he's trying to meet Ellie Mae there in the city. So interesting. Don't know if the Tarnished Pendant has a quest related to it or not.
Time to press ahead. Breathe quiet. Move. Yeah.
Oh, we need to head farther up to cross the bridge. Forgot.
At the ready.
Just open up the last of the map up here.
There's no time to waste. What might you be hiding? Better take that.
Okay, so we got a little bit of looting to do up here. We also want guidance here. Okay, more crafting supplies.
That's cute.
Okay, there's the dirt mound. That's interesting. Okay, it doesn't look like it's highlightable. I just saw the vine up here. I'm like, I've never seen that might have been passable before, but it's not. Can't get out there. Okay, we have a dead druid here. Their journal was next to them. Explains more again about the trials and tribulations they had dealing with the shadow curse and how they ended up finally succumbing to it.
Perhaps some feared it would spread.
Bottled solvent. Interesting. I don't think I've noticed that before either. Doesn't look like there's any use for it. Okay, so now we should have opened up everything on the north side of this side of the river. So now we're going to go and explore the south side here, and we have a bunch of things that we kind of skipped by while we were doing this. So we're going to head over here to the Last Light Inn, and we'll make our way back out across the bridge. And start exploring the rest of this, because there's a lot of stuff to go through over here, including the house in Deep Shadow. Okay, some more crafting supplies that we can pick up. And again, we're getting to an area that we are familiar with. So we're going to toggle our hide and toggle our group. And now we definitely want to take a Song of Rest.
Time to get going.
That gets everybody's action economy back. Okay, and now we're going to head up here and try not to die. We saw this on the Paladin playthrough. But we'll see if we can play this a little better than we did last time. So we have the detection cones. And the detection cones are because of, again, the needle blights and vine blights that are in this area. However, there's something else. There's a shambling mound. Yeah, poor Astarian. Yeah, that was kind of a bad luck for him. But I misplayed it, so hopefully we won't misplay this. So the Shadow Curse Shambling Mound here. Shambling Mounds are very, very fun enemies, especially in tabletop to deal with. So we saw in our last encounter with the needle blights that they can restrain you. And that synergizes with the shambling mound. They can devour any creature that is restrained and steeping in its digestive juices. So devour is 10d10 piercing damage. Okay, so to get there, a couple of things have to happen before. So it has to make an attack that gives us the digestive juices condition, and then one of the other enemies up here has to restrain us, and then at this point it's a 50-50 shot on whether it's a one-hit kill with most of our characters. With a maximum of 100, you can just get flat out killed. So the shambling mound on its own still hits hard, not necessarily nearly as dangerous as when it acts in concert with the other enemies that are up here around it. Right? So keep that in mind as you're going through this. And we're going to try and actually move up here. See where we can get an attack on the Vine Blight. So we're still good here with 98%. Let's see if I can move back anymore. Okay, 85%. We get disadvantage just because it's outside of range. Let's see if we can just get close enough to initiate this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and initiate this attack here. We don't need Luck of the Far Realms. As long as I'm going to keep passing my stealth attacks. Okay, so I rolled badly, but they're all dashing. That's not bad. That's not a problem. Okay, so now I am definitely going to remember to move myself back this time. I don't want to get myself caught up here. So I'm going to use my movement to move myself back and away from everybody. And I'm going to let them all dash toward me as we go.
What path lies before me?
Okay, so the ones who restrain you are the Vine Blights. They're the ones that have the restrain attack, and there are two of them that you have to deal with. The Needle Blights don't do anything, they just have a melee attack. So you're trying to focus on the Vine Blights to get them taken care of so that that restrain attack is no longer there. Is he within range? Okay, I was like, wait a minute, why didn't he dash? Okay, so we've almost got them where we want them here. So let's take our opportunity to start pre-positioning the rest of our characters.
I'm ready.
I can be subtle sometimes. These boots have seen everything.
I have to survive this. Off I go.
Okay, so we're going to move everybody back here. We're going to retreat one more time.
Come on. Can't stay idle.
And then when we get down here, we're going to cast darkness on ourselves. Okay, so we don't want to use up any of our attacks yet.
Need to find a way forward.
And we're going to cast darkness kind of up here in front of us a little bit. Okay. And now we'll let everybody continue to advance toward us. Okay, so they went the other way. Somewhat expected, somewhat unexpected. Why are... Superior Darkvision does not overrule darkness. Why does it say they are immune to blinded? Okay, I'm not entirely sure if that's a bug or not. Superior Darkvision does not overrule the darkness spell. At least in tabletop. So, not entirely sure why it's showing them as immune to being blinded. But if that's the case, they're all going to be immune to being blinded. Which isn't really great. So... Let's readjust things here.
In silence, quiet as a moonbeam.
So the question is, okay, and that's him there.
Well, so much for peace.
Okay. So yeah, things are going to get a little interesting here in a way that I didn't plan. But we can work around it.
Afford to stay idle.
Because we have Shadowheart. Would like to be able to get that a little bit closer. But it's not going to matter.
Fall, damn you.
Where is she going to cast that? Okay. And I love the destructive, I love the lightning aura she gets out of that. It's always so cool.
Taking my time in the shadows.
Okay, and then Where are we at? 5 and 7. This shouldn't be a problem either.
Best be on my way.
Okay, so I think that gets us where we need to be. So we're going to be... We've got 2 more needle blights. The vine blights are here in the back. We might be able to just focus down the shambling mound after this. And not worry about him too much. Yeah, he's going to dash to get to me. So, unfortunate that Shadowheart got knocked prone there, but I think our main goal now is just to beat down the shambling mound here. And it's a little bit unfortunate. He must have just been outside of range of me triggering Sentinel. Okay, easy enough. So Shadowheart should be getting provoking an attack of opportunity here, but I'm not sure if she will. She must have lost her concentration last turn. Well, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have it anymore, so I'm going to have to recast it. So I've got one coming down each side, right? Yes. So I'm going to cast this one here to keep them occupied.
On the victor's path.
Missed both 65%ers. That's unfortunate.
That matters.
Okay, so I think here we're going to Shriek. Okay, so we provoked the attack of opportunity here. ahead and attack that high armor class all you want. Okay, so they missed Shadowheart, so that should have triggered her... Oh, geez, yeah, it did. So, this is what I was talking about, how reverberation can stack so fast. This Needle Blight tried to attack Shadowheart. It missed. That triggered the radiating orb condition. It triggered it twice. It also triggered the boots, and that stacked up 6 stacks of reverberation onto the Needle Blight. It took thunder damage in response, as well as the radiant damage for missing, and it knocked itself prone. So that is showing how everything is stacking with the reverberation effects. Yeah, see, here's all of it that attacked. So it used needles, it missed, it failed a saving throw against the boots, Thunderous Conversion, so it inflicted 2 turns of reverberation. It received reverberation. It also got hit for radiant damage, which means it's going to get radiating orb, which means it got the thunder damage added onto that, and that stacked it up and knocked him prone. So, yeah, it just stacks up so fast with all of this stuff synergizing with each other. So, can I get them both? I can't. But that one's going to be too far as well. See if I can hit both of these without hitting my paladin. Doesn't look like I can. So let's go ahead and deal with these out here. Let's make one more move in here with her. So that way, if they miss attacks on her, again, reverberation is going to stack because of radiating orb against all of the enemies that are within range of her.
Never a dull moment.
So here, I think we're probably still going to go and take out the Shambling Mound. Or not. Missed an 84%er. Okay.
Victor's path.
Okay, so I failed my saving throw there against the Needle Blight, so I lost darkness, but that doesn't really matter. They seem to be immune to it anyway.
No time to waste.
I can't even catch my breath.
Outstanding. Okay, trigger my opportunity attack again. See, it's not a good idea to try and move away from me. It just hits so hard.
Have to keep going.
Time to push my luck again. Breathe deep and move.
Well, so far I'm really happy with
How much farther can I go?
Shadowheart's early game build here and how well it synergizes. There are some pretty impressive damage numbers that are being thrown out here in an
Can't afford to stay
AoE.
idle.
Even though it's a small, relatively small AoE, there are, like I say, some pretty impressive damage numbers being dealt here. So far, really happy with it. We'll see how it plays out as it morphs, especially when we get to level 8 here. And we get access to our first melee buff of this build. We may actually want to go back and respec to strength already instead of waiting until a little bit later, but we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. Because we are going to get a big melee boost here at level 8. That's exactly right. I still haven't used it. The goal of using that is actually to be in concert, probably with... Are you guys done walking through all of that stuff, please? Done? Please, keep your formation a little bit more. Walk through all the vines. Y'all done? Thank you. My goal is to actually use that a little more in concert with setting up darkness or more reliably Arms of Hadar. The plan that I have in place, kind of, Lord Henry, for how to utilize it is because if I cast Create or Destroy Water, or I create a water surface from Ice Frost or Ice Storm, or from Sleet Storm or Ice Storm, if I get a lightning strike and that is going to electrify the water, my characters are going to take damage from that. So the goal really is to cast like Arms of Hadar out in front of me. Not on me, but out in front of me. Cast, you know, with Will, have him do that. Then cast when enemies are stuck inside Arms of Hadar and they can't move very well, then use Shadowheart to cast Ice Storm on top of it. From there, I have a couple of options for how I can melt it with my other characters, but most notably fire arrows, or something like that to be able to melt it. And then on the next turn after that, while they're hopefully knocked prone and still in the Arms of Hadar, then drop Call Lightning on them and just see how well that works. That takes some setup, and it takes at least 2 turns for it to get the damage modifiers in place. So I'm really anxious to try it when I get to something that's got more choke point, you know, hard choke point setups. And we're going to see a lot of that when we get over to the other side, and then especially when we get into the gauntlet. We're going to get into a lot of those areas where you can drag enemies back through a single doorway, and that is going to be a really, really bad time for them.
Worth grabbing. Onward. Ever onward.
Okay, so we do want to have guidance here again. Okay, another diary here. Hey, Bondi Woot, welcome to the stream. I have not finished. I've got way too many playthroughs. My personal playthrough, the first one I started, is about halfway through Act 3. My honor mode playthrough is about halfway through Act 1. And those are all personal playthroughs that I'm doing aside from these two. So I have 4 concurrent playthroughs that are all running right now. And because of that, I haven't been able to sit down and devote enough time really to get through everything. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Bet I can crack that open.
There's so much there's so much content in Act 3. I mean, there just is. There's just so much to do. Do I think what a new game plus? I don't think so. What you see in a lot of playthroughs are mods that allow people to have level 12's worth of build and play through the game from the start. I don't see Larian doing something like that. I might see, and Larian has said that they're probably not going to do this, but I might see some sort of expansion or something like that. But we'll kind of see. That's one of those constantly talked about things that everybody wishes they would see, is an increase to the level cap, an expansion for some new content and that sort of stuff. That would be a little bit out of sorts for the previous Baldur's Gate games that have happened. And Larian originally started off saying that they weren't going to do that. But I'll be anxious to see with the popularity of this game if that changes their minds. We'll just have to see. So the Ring of Self-Immolation in here, this is for a heat build. We've talked about heat a little bit before. So you can set yourself on fire to gain heat. As you gain heat, you get heat convergence, which you can use your heat to deal fire damage in addition. So this works especially if you have some of your tieflings that get resistance to fire damage from the start, or if you've taken that background to gain resistance to fire damage. It also works well with an item later on that makes you immune to fire damage. Heat is not something that I plan to explore in either of these playthroughs. I think I've got so many things going on right now with the different builds that heat doesn't really fall into it. But it is certainly something to explore. There are a few items, just like there are for lightning charges and reverberation and all those sort of things, that all stack together and synergize
On my way.
with that type of build. Okay, so now taking a look at our map again, we're gonna take a left here and head toward this house, but before we do that, we're going to take a long rest. We need it. Let me make sure. Yes, we need it. We need to do a few things while we are here. Well, let's go see if we have any conversations to be had first.
Maybe it will bring us closer.
If death is soon to take Karlach, she should make every moment as rich as the last. Fight viciously, roar loudly, step boldly. She must make herself known.
Okay, so nothing else from Lae'zel.
Well met. Then we know our mission. All roads converge at moonrise. I was 11 when the Councillor spotted and slayed an assassin who stalked Father from the shadows. I was 13 when she brought word of a goblin warband advancing on Rivington. Her keen scouting saved 100 lives that day. The Councillor's loyalty to my father is beyond question. She's as steady as Tyr's heartbeat, as upstanding as the Sword Mountains. Father's at Moonrise Towers, and we need to save him.
Everybody wish that, Eric. Karlach is obviously a fan favorite, and I certainly get that everybody wants to see more of Karlach, especially with her not being in the Paladin playthrough at all. There's so many characters I could focus on here. Karlach is going to get some more time in Act 3, but yeah, she's not going to be a permanent member here, especially with just how well the Bard and the Paladin synergize. That was always my plan for this, so I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
They want violence, they want control, they want Baldur's Gate. Who better than Grand Duke Ravengard to surrender it? Who better than the commander of the Flaming Fist to dismantle its defenses? They will infect him, and the city's guardian will become its ruin, unless we put a stop to it. We can't and we won't. The shadows be damned.
So here's your fan favorite.
Soldier?
No other conversations with her, though.
Lady of Sorrows, guide us. Did you want something?
Okay, nothing new from Shadowheart.
How can I help? She expects those who seek to use the weave to do so honestly, and with respect for its potential to destroy, as well as its potential to save. I doubt she's asked many of her followers to blow themselves up. That's a fate she's bequeathed exclusively to me. She wouldn't ask such a thing if it weren't our only means of survival. However much she's annoyed at me. Oh, you know me, ever the optimist. I'm trying to focus on the positives. Truth is, I was living on borrowed time already. Consuming those items would only have kept the orb sated for so long. If anything, I feel more at peace than I have in months. At least now I know my death will have purpose. It won't be a distant bang in the footnotes of history.
Okay, nothing else there. And, Ostermore, like I said, there are mods that allow you to do that. But, yeah, I mean, you're right. You would like to spend more time at level cap and playing around with all of those things that you have, but we'll see. Never count Larian out.
You know, I feel a connection between us. Like we're two souls walking the same path. You might be a little naive in the ways of the world, but I see promise in you. Ambition. Just that you have a big heart. You like doing what's right. So I was thinking, what would be the right thing to do when we get to Moonrise Towers? When we come face to face with whoever is controlling the parasites in our heads?
So, you know which of these Astarion wants.
Yes. Exactly. Just think. How many people have the Mind Flayers infected? Hundreds? Thousands? And they're not just goblin trash. There are powerful people in the Worm's thrall. Whoever's waiting for us at Moonrise Towers controls it all. But if we can take that control from them, imagine the power we'd wield.
Oh, Ostermurray, you're right. I do tend to forget that sometimes. Now that I don't play on my Xbox nearly as much as I used to, I tend to forget about that. I apologize. Yes, if you are on console, you don't have access to the mods, so I apologize for those of you who don't have access to them.
I mean, I assume there's some device controlling these things, so we find that. Murder some people and, Look, I'm not a details person, alright? But turning up and causing chaos has worked for us so far. I'm just saying, there's an opportunity here. If we can control the tadpoles, we can keep ourselves safe. And liberate the world from this evil. 2. It's not often the universe hands you something like this. We'd be fools to squander it. Of course, this all assumes we live long enough to find this, moonrise. But I'm feeling optimistic.
Okay, yeah, we're probably not going to end up doing any of that, but it is something. We definitely want to go down here and talk to Halsin. Interesting.
And you and me are
Looks like we've got a bug here.
It's true then. He's met Thaniel. There's no other way he'd know that name. This is just what we needed. Well done. We need to wake him. He must know something about where to find Thaniel. If he was able to escape the Shadowfell, then it mustn't have managed to consume his spirit. Well, not all of it anyway. We need to unlock whatever's left of him, inside his head. There must be something to trigger him. A word, a memory, an item. We just need to find it. I'm afraid so, yes. Check his person. There might be something on him to help us get started. Without Thaniel, no. And I don't know how I can find him without speaking to this man. I don't deserve you, my friend.
Okay, so that was a little bit bugged. I wonder if we talk to him again.
He keeps saying Thaniel's name. He must know more. I don't deserve you.
So yeah, he's permanently locked into that particular loop right now for some reason. So that's obviously a bug. Okay, but we have finished everything that we need to do here. So let's go ahead and head to bed and we'll start.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you standing there. Lost in the steps, truth be told. I need them to be just right. I wouldn't want to fail my new partner. As luck would have it, she just arrived. May I have this dance?
I will say, I think I would have paid money to watch Theo Solomon mocap this in Larian Studios.
How utterly charming.
Now, perhaps we might try a more intimate style.
I hope I have streamer settings set up right on this. I haven't checked in a while. in a while.
So much shadow around us. To think I almost missed the light. Well, it's getting late. We can't face the morrow if we don't bid farewell to the now.
Just in case I don't have streamer settings on.
Good night. And thank you. For the dance, I mean. I won't forget it.
Okay, now everybody bind your weapons.
All's well that ends. Not as bad as it could have.
Looking ahead.
Defender of the people.
Okay,
No one
we
stop me
will also ready up, speak with animals. And Longstrider.
And away I go. These boots have seen everything.
Okay, and I think we're ready to leave camp now. Okay. Alright, thanks, I guess. Alright, so we're gonna head southwest here, and then we're gonna head down this way. Okay, no, we went the wrong way. We need to head back up here and head this way. Okay, down here we have the remnants of some of the tieflings that we remember. We know some of these names from the Druid Grove.
North, Last Light Inn. South, Rythwind Town.
Okay, and they got into a fight with some cultists here. It's probably going to encumber Shadowheart. Yes. So... Okay, so we'll use Will to do some searching now.
Easy enough.
And we'll see if anybody here has anything to say.
Wits and blades always sharp.
The corpse does not respond.
Okay, so nobody has any speak with the dead options here.
Another step forward.
Okay, so we're gonna head up here to the northeast and then take a right.
Hells. The curse has torn open the ground itself.
Okay, and that opened up this waypoint here. So we now have the shadowed battlefield waypoint. It's going to make it much easier to fast travel back to this spot. Okay, so we're going to head up this way. We're going to end off the stream with this last encounter here.
She was no fun. All I wanted was to play. Maybe they want to play.
More for me?
Okay, so there's something that we can't really see here that is speaking.
Blade at the ready.
Actually, I'm going to move in here with me first. Okay.
Boo! I scared you! I saw it! Nobody beats me at hide and seek. Will you play with me? Not that kind of playing, silly. I want to play a game. It'll be really fun. Let me show you. I have a mummy, a daddy, and a doggy. They'll be back in a while, but you're here now, and I want to play. I don't know anyone called that. Don't ask me again. Now play with me. All right. I'll hide, and you seek. Find me, and you win. Then you lose. Get ready. And no cheating.
Moving in.
Okay, so Oliver here wants to play hide and seek. Fortunately for Oliver, I have an eye which lets me see invisibility. He just seems to be really good at passing his saving throw.
You weren't supposed to find me. You weren't supposed to win. Good idea. You're smarter than some playmates I've had. They always tried to leave before I was done with them. Try to find me again, but my family will be looking for you at the same time, so don't get caught!
Okay, so now we have turn-based mode here, where his mummy and his daddy, who are undead level 7 wraiths, are now stalking us, so to speak. We've already seen Oliver here, but the detection cone is going to lead us into a situation. So I'm going to move around behind them. And again, it doesn't really matter to me how I play this out. We also have his doggy back here. Because if I get caught, I don't honestly care.
Better make my next move. Breathe deep and move.
There's the bed. I'm lost. My faith protects me. Mustn't let anyone see.
Don't want to think about why my eye is itching. Out of sight, out of mind.
Okay, so now he's gonna run by.
What's next, I wonder? I see a way. Let's see what I can spirit away.
That was a... I want to try to get into a spot where... So I'm not going to be able to. So...
Don't mind me.
We'll hold off on...
Should mind my step.
Our paladin. We'll move him out here. Yeah, she got spotted. I wasn't expecting that. Where's the dog at? That its detection cone would be that big. Oh, it was actually Mummy that moved around, I think. That's a huge range for the detection cone. Normally, every time I've moved up there, it's been out of range. It looks like I might have been just one tile farther or you know, away from being out of the detection cone. Normally I get those 2 turns there, without a problem. But in this case, I didn't. So, it's not a worry, though. And now you can see why it's not a worry.
Have to keep going.
So, oh, what? He moved up to the top? Interesting. Going to move just around the other side here. So it moved up to the roof. I can't see it from inside. So, interesting. So a 65% chance to hit, 80% chance to hit here. This is going to inflict reverberation 4 turns worth.
This is my time.
Still breathing, despite everything.
Can I get close enough? I should be able to. Yes, I can. So let's move up here as close as we possibly can. Oh, you're killing me. Rolled a 3. Okay. Well, is what it is.
What do I have to lose?
There's the level up. And I'll just be able to burst this one down without a problem.
Let me strike true.
Where do I go from here? Shouldn't have made me your enemy.
Oof, that hurt. Ooh, boy, that hurts so bad. 10d8 radiant damage with a reroll. It just hurts so bad.
Light on my feet.
So I've never been spotted by him before, but it's not gonna matter. He's waiting outside here.
I always win in the end. You did better than most, though, so I'll let you go. Here. Second prize. You'll need it.
Okay, so we pick up the Ring of Shadows. This gives us Pass Without Trace as a spell.
I won fair and square. There's no point in playing again. I want a challenge. Go on, find someone else to play with.
So the interesting thing now is... Yeah, so I never changed those out.
Come on, open up.
Is what happens with him in the portal now. Okay, so mental fatigue on the Ring of Mental Inhibition. Mental fatigue is another one of those builds up over time things, like reverberation. This one is psychic damage based, and instead of giving minuses to the saving throws for your martial skills, it gives them minuses to your spell casting skills instead. So again, this can build up over time just like any other thing whenever a foe fails a saving throw against a spell. So, and that can go from a bunch of different ways. That can go about a bunch of different ways. So, let's get Shadowheart to talk to the dead here, and our quest marker. Do we have the quest marker for... Okay, so... Yeah, we do have the quest marker for Waken Up Art over here west of the Mason's Guild, so... That must be how we're going to...
On I go then.
Oh yeah, Lord Henry just said it. So, now I have to follow the quest to wake up Art instead, which isn't going to be a problem.
Training. Becoming a Sar, leading my kin. Not in the Shadowlands. Atop the mountain, reaching to the sun. Kresh Yilik, hidden among the mountains, veiled by ruins. Foolish games. Shadow. Ambushed. Shameful death. Dishonor to Vlaakith. Deathcar. Warrior for my queen. Blade for my Kithrak.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Okay, so we'll do one last search here. And everybody did get the level up, that's good.
Keeping pace.
What to do?
Okay, so we're gonna save our level up to start off next week. We won't deal with it here. Let's continue on just opening up some of these other areas here. I need to change these back out. Hey Mix, welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here, I appreciate it. Okay, where is it? There they are.
That might be worth a look.
Okay. Okay, so the Gray Scout's journal here is, remember, you can come to the Shadowlands without having gone to the Underdark or going to the Mountain Pass, vice versa. So these things are kind of giving you lead ups to where the possible other paths are to get here and how you can continue out. So I appreciate that part of it. I wish that some of the loading screens were set up a little bit differently so as not to kind of lead you away from it anyway. But they are what they are. So there's an area where you met the Goblin Cavern. I haven't been behind a broken tower yet. So I met the Goblin Caravan here originally when I came out. I mean, if you're talking about this area down here, yes, that's correct. Okay, so we'll just keep making our way around over here. We've been through this area before, and now we have a couple of more encounters over here. That we have to deal with. And we'll deal with one of these. Possibly not the other one, though. Okay, so here we can see that we have some ambushing measles. Okay, and we'll see Darkvision again should not be overriding darkness, but we'll kind of see what happens here as we go through this. So we're going to get an ambush here on these measles. Oh, wow, and they all went before me. Okay. So, now we need to kind of play this a little bit differently, and that we probably want to get Will in here now.
Careful.
Let's see where he's going to have to move to cast that. That's not too bad. And we will wait and see what the other two measles do, these two in the back, and what these do as well. I think this one's probably going to get out, but we'll see. Just a little bit too far.
Finding my way.
Okay, now we're gonna move Will back here.
Time to push my luck again.
I'm gonna start moving back. Actually, yes, I am gonna move back.
Swift as my feet can carry me.
We'll see what happens with them and the hunger here. Okay, so he moved into it. Okay, so he did shadow teleport out. Might as well. Okay, so Meazels have their infamous garrote attack, which they can snag you around the neck, they can teleport out and drag you with them, and things can get really, really interesting when that happens. So for now, I'm going to think we're going to bless here. We want to have, well, no, the garrote is a dexterity saving throw, I think. Oh no, it's just an attack roll. Well, I don't know if it has a saving throw after. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. So then it doesn't really matter what we're doing with this. We'll just add in additional thunder damage for Shadowheart.
No holding back.
Why does he have disadvantage on that? Oh, because he's threatened. That's right. Like, why is there disadvantage on that? Yes, he's threatened, so that would provoke an attack of opportunity. Got a pretty high armor class, though. Perfect. And there you go, Will. Okay, and all of that missing. Just keeps triggering reverberation, and you see them all knocked prone. So now advantage against him because he's completely knocked prone. So I'll let my paladin worry about him. Let's go after this one here. Okay. We'll drop this on Will. No reason not to.
Let's finish this.
Okay, so we'll go after this one here. Close.
Forever dauntless.
I prefer... Now I can... We'll move Will all the way down here, and now my paladin
Blood comes easy these days.
should be able to take care of. I don't have. I used all my divine smites. So I've only got level 1s left. Oh, I didn't trigger. That was stupid. They needed a 23 to hit and they rolled 24? Really? Okay, so I'm not too worried about the rest of this, I don't think. Let's save most of our action economy here. I don't know how it did that. That was my question when I did it. I was just gonna wait until after I'm done to find out, to look at the combat log. Because, yeah, shield shouldn't do that, I don't think. I believe shield just ups your armor class by 5, if I'm not mistaken. So, not entirely sure how that worked either.
I'll strike you down.
For those of you who are not aware, that is what Long Strider allows you to do. Oh, come on. Yeah, you knew that was going to happen. I miss a 70% chance attack to kill an enemy, and it's going to garrote me. Oh, great. Okay, but because of the hit that landed, I have a bunch of options here. Sentinel triggers, because my ally's within 3 meters of me, so I'm going to get a reaction full attack against the Meazle here. I could also trigger Wrath of the Storm Lightning or Thunder. So I have some options here on what to do, and these are 2 separate people. So I can trigger both of them. And I can add Destructive Wrath on that if I wanted. I might as well, because I'm going to have to take a short rest and get all this stuff back anyway. So that's what happens when you hit one of my people. and I can tack a Divine Smite on top of that reaction attack I had to make, but I don't need to. So the Sentinel is really, really good. It's just really good. So having the ability on a reaction to be able to burst damage with Shadowheart and get a full attack that I can throw a Divine Smite on top of with my Paladin is just, it's way too good. So being able, that becomes more of the mid-game thing, is being able to get a reaction that causes damage. Hellish Rebuke is the Warlock thing that you get that allows you to cause damage on a reaction, but a full attack or 2d12 damage from Shadowheart on that, or 2d6 damage from Shadowheart on that is just really, really good. So I am going to take actually, I'm going to use my Song of Rest here.
I can keep going a little longer.
That gets all of my action economy back, and that gets us a good spot to save here. And we will pick up next week with our level ups, and we are going to think seriously about respecking Shadowheart to be in melee. I said I wasn't going to, but I think showcasing her melee skills with the melee increase we're going to get at level 8 might be something that is more beneficial to everybody here. So we'll look at that when we get into the start of next week. So as a reminder, here in an hour, we're going to be starting the Paladin playthrough again. And I hope everyone is able to join me for that. If not, again, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I love all the interactions with all of you in chat. Thank you very much, because without your support, none of this would be possible. And this is Commander Jorval saying, until next time, fare thee well.